Three, two, one. We have ignition.
You already know who it is.
Leaving all the competition in the dust.
Prepare yourself, you know it's a must. Gonna have a friend in Jesus.
You're listening to 1330 WEBY, Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups, coming up next.
Spirit in the sky, won't recommend you to spirit in the sky. That's where you're gonna go when you die. When you die.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
The following presentation is controversial and may be offensive to some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Radio from the heart of America now.
And now, the Commander-in-Chief is back. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups, the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio.
Well, folks, we welcome you to Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups on a cold, wet January the 6th. Here from the Megaplex, the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio right here in Milton, Florida. This is actually Brandon Gallups. I will be hosting the show today as our normal host, the Commander-in-Chief of Gulf Coast Talk Radio, Carl Gallups. Also, my father is out today. He has been in another part of the country this week doing some preaching and some television filming, so we wish him the best on his travels back, and I appreciate the honor, as always, to sit in this seat and to have the ability to speak with folks literally all over the world as we broadcast here live out of 1330 WEBY. Also, a big thanks to Miss Mallory Bardwell, our producer, for trying to help me sound good and look good on radio. Mallory, you have a rough job today, darling. I am so sorry, but thank you for that. And also, last but not least, a big thanks to Mike Bates, owner and operator of 1330 WEBY, for allowing us to do Freedom Friday here for so many years and allowing me the freedom from time to time to sit in and host the show. And boy, do we have a power-packed show lined up today. My goodness, the things that are going on in our world. It's unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. It looks as though our world is falling apart at the seams. For those of you who are students of the Word and believe in the Bible and the prophecies of the Bible, the ancient prophecies of the Bible, I think we would agree, maybe it's all just coming together. Maybe it's all just coming together. We're going to discuss that here in just a few minutes. My first guest today on Freedom Friday is Messianic Rabbi Zev Porat. Zev is born and raised in Israel. He is based out of Israel. His ministry is currently based out of Israel. You can look him up online. You can find him at messiahofisraelministries.org. messiahofisraelministries.org. And so we're going to waste no time today in bringing Zev on the air with us. Zev, can you hear me, brother?
Shalom, Brandon. Shalom. Thank you for having me.
Yes, brother. Thank you for taking the time. I know that it is late at night, Israel time, the middle of the night, so thank you so much for being willing to stay awake and spend some time with us here today on Freedom Friday. And I know you and I have talked over the last few days, and wow, the attacks against Benjamin Netanyahu, against the nation of Israel as a whole, the UN moving against Israel, led by the current, albeit we're almost done, crossed fingers. Hopefully, please, Lord, allow this reign of terror here in the United States under Barack Obama to end. We beg you for that. But all of this, much of this move against Israel has been spearheaded by the still current and sitting regime of the United States, Barack Obama, John Kerry, and others. And so, Zev, obviously, listen, brother, you live in Israel. You are an Israeli. Above and beyond that, you are a student of the Word. You know the Scriptures inside and out. You understand the original languages and what those things mean. So what is the buzz on the streets of Israel about what is going on and the attempt right now to, literally, this sounds like harsh words, but literally from the outside looking in, what I would view as an attempt to overthrow the nation of Israel?
Oh, absolutely, Brandon. Nothing's changed over the past 2,000 years, but as we're getting closer and closer to the end times and seeing, the war of Magog entering in slowly, we see all these attacks against Israel. And frankly, the Israelis and Benjamin Netanyahu and the average Israeli on the street, believers and non-believers, are totally against this. And nobody here in Israel is going to agree to stop building settlements. Nobody here is going to agree to give any land away, not Benjamin Netanyahu and not the people of Israel. So we're seeing this attack coming in the end times, and we believe that Obama is behind this.
Yes.
Benjamin Netanyahu said it, the people of Israel have said it, and right now, he's just showing his true colors. There's a lot of people didn't believe that he was an enemy of Israel, and now they believe it because he's showing it. He's leaving a very good legacy.
Yes. Well, I mean, I don't think that we have to speculate, Zev, that Obama is behind this. He has stated openly in the last couple of weeks his position on Israel, his position on Israeli settlements, his position on a two-state solution, or I would say he probably leans more to a one-state solution. By that, I mean the doing away of Israel and creating a total Palestinian state. So I don't think that we even have to speculate. He's been very open about where he stands on all of this, and it's just interesting to watch all of this unfold and come together, especially when we see the other nations that are openly and actively operating militarily in the Middle East: Russia, China, Germany, the United States, on and on and on.
Absolutely, and we see it here in Israel as a direct attack against the embassy being moved to Jerusalem, because right now, the nations are going crazy that this is going to happen, and that's what the attack's all about.
Yeah.
And especially right now with Trump nominating David Fetterman as the ambassador to Israel, and the people, we're very excited about David Fetterman. So David Friedman. So we know this is it all ties in together. That's the real agenda behind all this.
Yes. Zev, let's address that for just a minute for people who may not understand the significance of the embassy sitting in Jerusalem, and for people that may have no idea where the embassy sits now and why that is. But let me just start by saying this. The United States, by law, by our own laws of this land, says that our embassies must be in the capital city of the country of that embassy. So in other words, Zev, tell us, what is the capital of the nation of Israel?
The capital of the nation of Israel is Yerushalayim, Jerusalem.
Jerusalem.
Thus says the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yes.
And it's been in Tel Aviv until now. And for 20 years, there's been a decision to move it to Jerusalem, and no president has ever attempted to do it. They all said they'll do it, but nobody's ever done it.
Right.
But we believe that God has chosen Donald Trump for a time like this to move the embassy, and this is what's going to happen. This is the real agenda, the real motivation behind the attacks that we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
All over the world, against Netanyahu, against the nation of Israel. This is what it's all about, the threats that are coming in. But that embassy is going to be moved to Jerusalem.
Yeah, well, Donald Trump says it is. I mean, those are his words, that he would move the embassy to Jerusalem. Just last week, when things were unfolding against Israel, and I think may have even been earlier. I think it was last week when he tweeted out. He tweeted out. He said, and this is Donald Trump. I'm paraphrasing, but this is what he said. He said, "Hang on, Israel. Things are about to change." So Trump is an open supporter of Israel. And I want people to understand, I want to be very clear and just reemphasize what Zev just said. The current U.S. embassy in Israel sits in Tel Aviv. Folks, Tel Aviv is not the capital of Israel. Jerusalem is. No president has had the guts to move our embassy to Jerusalem for the past 20 years. And for folks that don't know, listen, folks, Israel fought a war to win back and to regain the control of the city of Jerusalem in 1967. Zev, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this.
1967, the year of the Jubilee.
That's exactly right.
And we are in the blessing of the Jubilee now.
Yes, absolutely. And let me read a couple of statements here from world leaders. Just, because folks listening that maybe haven't kept up with this or aren't familiar with this may say, what in the world does it matter where an embassy sits? Let me tell you what it matters. The words of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. And I'm reading this off of ABC News, folks. Here are the words of President Mahmoud Abbas. He says this. He says, if he, referring to Donald Trump, if he did this, referencing moving the embassy to Jerusalem, then he would be putting the peace process in a critical situation that he will not get out of, not only in the Middle East, but all over the world. Abbas went on to say, we call on you not to implement your statement on the ground or in your agenda because we consider it an aggressive statement. That's Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. A Jordanian official said this to the AP. And this is the Jordanian information minister. His name is Mohammed Momani. He said this. He said that Jordan would consider moving the embassy a, quote, red line that would inflame the Islamic and Arab streets and prove to be a, quote, gift to extremists. So, Zev, there you go. There's the importance of moving the embassy to Jerusalem.
Absolutely. And Donald Trump is a friend of Israel, and Donald Trump is going to bring back the relationship between Israel and the United States. And by moving the embassy, what is he really saying? He's saying that we acknowledge Israel, right. Jerusalem as the capital.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what he's saying. And even deeper than that, Zev, he is reaffirming and re-acknowledging Israel as a nation. Because that's the real agenda here. Like you said when we opened up, nothing has changed in the last 2,000 years. There has always been an attempt to exterminate the Hebrew people, for there to be no physical Israel. But God has a special plan and a special purpose for the nation of Israel. And Zev, you brought it up, the Gog-Magog war spoken of in Ezekiel 38. And it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing to me. The first few verses of that prophecy list all of the nations, and they're listed in the old tribal names. But most scholars agree that those nations interpret to China, Russia, Turkey, Ethiopia, Libya, a couple of other North African nations. And here's what amazes me, Zev, is verse 4 of Ezekiel 38 says this, I will turn you around, I will put hooks in your jaws, and I will bring you out with your whole army, your horses, your horsemen fully armed, and a great horde with large and small shields, all of them brandishing their swords. That's the words of God spoken to these nations. And when I look at Russia, I think about the last couple of years of Russia saying, we don't want World War III. We don't want to be involved in a world war. And what's happening right now? Russia is literally being hooked by their jaws and drugged to war in the Middle East.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it that we don't know what stage we're in, but we're definitely in that prophecy, in the beginning of that prophecy, and the time is very, very short. And I have to tell you, all these threats that, we're used to these threats here in Israel. We always get threats when it comes down to Jerusalem. Jerusalem today, there's threats here. In the feast of the Lord, there's threats here. We live under threat 24/7. So, this is, nothing new. But I have to tell you that as a Bible believer, as a believer in Jesus and Yeshua, I really, really pray for those nations to understand what they're doing, because they're going against the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And the Bible is clear what their destiny is going to be. They're playing with fire. God says in Zechariah chapter 2, verse 8, that whoever touches Israel touches the apple of his eye.
That's right.
And if you know anything about medicine, you know that the eye is the most delicate part of the human body outward. And God is saying, if you touch Israel, you're poking me in the eye. That's a dangerous, dangerous game.
No, it is. And we're watching it unfold on the world stage. And, Zev, we're going to have to go to a quick break. And then on the other side of this break, folks, I'm going to address with Zev the buzz on the streets of Israel concerning a small matter going on right here in the United States of America. Folks, thank you for tuning in today to Freedom Friday on January the 6th. This is Brandon Gallups sitting in today. We'll be right back.